Okay, so for today's lesson, what we're going to do is we are going to do a pumpkin weaving project. Now to start off, what you're going to need is you're probably going to need a drawing utensil like a marker or a pencil. You're going to need some yarn, and you're also going to need a pair of scissors. All right, and what this is going to do, this is going to enhance your child's fine motor skills and gross motor skills. I'll show you a quick example of a real quick version of it that I did yesterday, but essentially this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to zoom out just a bit so that you can see it, all of it. So there we have it right there. Okay, so you're going to start off by taking your marker, and right here in the middle we're just going to make 2 lines that go down. This is going to be your stem, and then you're just going to use as much of the paper as you can to make a circle. Now, if you don't have orange paper, no problem. You can use a white paper, and you can just kind of color it or whatever you want to do with it. It's not really that big of a deal. But what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of draw a pumpkin, and you're going to use the scissors to cut out that pattern of whatever you draw. Okay, and your child can cut this out if you want, or you can do it for them and have it all prepped and ready. Okay, now if you really want it to be curved on the bottom, you can go back in with a couple little details or so, but that's essentially what it is. Now what you want to do is you want to create a series of dots to space them out to create the holes of where you're going to weave. You just have to remember that you don't want them to be too close to the edge because the paper could possibly tear. So you're going to go in a little bit. You're going to start at the top, and you're going to spread your circles out. Now I am going to use a hole puncher for the sake of creating a quicker version of this lesson. But you can always use your pencil, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if you didn't have a hole puncher and you wanted to use a pencil to create the circle or the hole in there, you could just simply hold it and then just push it all the way through, and make sure that when you push it all the way through, it gets all the way through so that you have that hole. But just for time's sake, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use a hole puncher just so that it goes a little faster. Not necessary though. All right. So I'm creating my holes for my child to weave. Maybe your child would like to do this as well. And one last one. Now, if it isn't perfectly on the ones that you made, no big deal. You can turn it over and use the other side. Okay? So then what you want to do is you want to take some string or whatever yarn that you have, and you want it to be kind of long. It's always better to be a little bit longer rather than shorter so that you don't have to add another one in. But you don't want it so long that it's difficult for your child to manage, okay? So I would say about this long is sufficient. Now, I couldn't say exactly how long this is, but long enough, okay? So the idea is that you would like to make a knot at the end so that it doesn't come out. Or what you can do, okay, this is if you want to make a knot, you fold it in half like this, and then you just simply put it behind here and then pull it through and keep it loose. Okay, or what you can do is you can take that same string and you can put it through the hole if you want to start at the center or the first one over here, and then tie a knot so that it doesn't come off. Okay, now what else you can do is on the other end of the string, what you can do is you can put a little piece of tape there to make sure, like if your child is having trouble getting it through the hole, what you can do is you can take a little piece of tape, and if I can find it, that would be great if I could find it. You can take a little piece of tape, okay, and you can tape on the end here. Now this one's far too big, so you can tape on the end, all right? So what you would do is you would take the piece of tape, put the string on the end, and then just kind of like twist it around so that you're basically making sort of like a fake needle and twisting it so that when you go to weave it through the paper, you have some kind of point here that it will slide through very easily. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so now you've made yourself a mock needle. And now what you're going to do is you're going to have your child go in and out. They can go across, around, however they want to do it. You can just make sure that when they go to weave it, you just want to emphasize the idea of going up and down. Okay, and one of the ways I like to do this with my students is I make pretend that it's a fish. So this is the water, the pumpkin or your paper would be the water, and we're starting from behind. Now the fish wants to jump out of the water. So what's he going to do? He's going to jump up. And then when he jumps up, he's jumping all the way up out of the water until he can't go any further. Right? It's going to be long at first. And then where does he go? He has nowhere else to go, only to dive back in. So he's going to now dive back in the water. And he's going to go all the way down to his house. Okay? He's going to jump up out of the water. And he's going to then dive back in. Okay? And you're going to continue to repeat this process through the entire project. Just remember that it's okay if the child wants to jump across to different circles. It's okay. We don't want them to discourage them from being creative in their own right or wherever they want to go. Wherever they feel like going is just, it's a natural thing for them. So this is the kind of project that gives them the freedom to be able to do that. And that's great. We just want to encourage the idea of jumping up. Right? And then going down. And that process of repeating that is basically the essence of weaving, right? Now, if you end up having a situation where the paper tears, no big deal. You can just skip over that hole, or you can put a little piece of tape there. You can use a thicker paper if you have it, but if not, just make sure that your holes are a little bit further in rather than closer to the edge, so that we can discourage the idea of the possible scenario of a paper tear. Okay, so I'm continuing this process and continuing it until I get through all of the circles. If you have string left over, you can continue to go back into the holes if there's room. Like for instance, if you went all the way through here, okay, and then maybe you wanted to come up in this hole, and you wanted to go all the way down to here. You can do that as well. Or you can just kind of skip over and you can stop. But I like to kind of just use it until it's almost gone. Just to get them moving and get them using their hands. Okay, so I'm gonna skip up over here just to show you what that looks like. Okay, so now I have extra string left over. I'm gonna show you what that looks like on the back. So now what I would simply do is I would cut that off and I'd leave a little bit of hanging just so that I can tie myself a knot. And what I do is I use what's already there and I'm just going to tuck it under. And you see there's a loop right there. So what I'm going to do is just take the end and put it right through there and tie a knot. You can also tie a knot this way where you make yourself a loop and you tie. Trim off whatever extra you have. And then go back to where you started, and if you have any leftover that you need to trim, by all means do that. Now you have your pumpkin here and it's all weaved. Now it's decoration time. So now what you can do is you can take a crayon and you can color the stem. You can add any kind of pattern that you want to this, right? If you have any black paper, you can cut yourself some triangles for eyes and a nose to make it a jack-o'-lantern. If you'd like to celebrate Halloween, you can do that as well. You can take these pieces and you can curve this under to make a mouth. Okay, so now I have two eyes and I'll just glue these on. Always allow the child to glue. Put their hand over it, guide over their hand. You can make a nose. You can put on the mouth, and this is just very general. You can get as specific as you want. And there you have it. So now you have a little jack-o'-lantern. You can even take some crayons and have the student make lines, any kind of design they want, and you have an entire project right here with you. Okay, so I hope that you enjoy this project. It's very, very easy, but it's great for people who are trying to increase their fine motor skills and their gross motor skills, and there's a lot that you can add to this lesson. Okay, if you have any questions, always hit me on my email, rmahler@acboe.org, and also you can reach the classroom teacher who can then get in touch with me. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thank you very much. Pumpkin weaving, yay!